high-strung AP US History students. I guess I don't need this now that I've got my antivirus renewed. I'm here to give you a couple last-minute thoughts on how to do your AP exam on Friday, this week coming up. So, stay tuned. The first thing you need to know is that the AP exam this year is only going to be 45 minutes long. You're going to be taking it online. It is open notebook, and it's going to be a DBQ. I'm really kicking myself because just about the time I left school was when I wanted to start going over DBQs with you. I hope that your substitute teachers for me have been doing that. But I want to go through the rubric and remind you these are the things that you need to make sure you do when you write your DBQ. Put on my glasses here. Now, the DBQ is going to be based on 10 rubric points. So your best score that you could get would be a 10. That's going to get you, I'm guessing, a 4 on the exam, and it'll work its way down from that. Okay, and these are the main things that the rubric is going to be addressing. And I've sent you this as a printout that you can print. Hopefully you've got it in your hand right now as I'm going over it with you. Thesis claim, up to 1 point. Contextualization, up to 1 point. Evidence, up to 5 points. That's a biggie. Okay, and analysis and reasoning, up to 3 points. Okay, so if you score perfectly on every one of those, you'll get 10 points, and yay, you'll get a 4 for your AP exam score. That'd be great. Okay, 1 point for thesis claim, and I want to emphasize simply restating the question, twisting it around a little bit, is not a thesis statement. Okay, that's the first sign when the gnomes are reading that they got a loser coming up there with them. Okay, so make sure that you have a valid thesis claim. Some students will even put it in a box at the very top of their essay. Some students put it as the first sentence. Some students put it as the last sentence in the essay. I prefer that you incorporate the thesis statement in your introductory paragraph. Okay, what do I want to see in that introductory paragraph? I've told you this right off the bat. First thing, get me in the park with the time frame. During the first half of the 1800s, at the end of the 19th century, okay, during the years between the world wars, okay, and you could always resort to something like between 1910 and 1945 or whatever. You know, you could pull that right out of the prompt, out of the question. But as I said, I prefer that you kind of massage it a little bit and use different words. Okay, so right off the bat, okay, during this time period, okay, next, okay, I'm going to go back to this in just a second. Big picture. What's the big event that's going on? Okay. During the first half of the 19th century, America was expanding to the west. Okay, big picture. Okay, let's say they're asking a question about slavery. Okay, then what is the detail, or what are the details that we have to remember? Okay, during the first half of the 19th century, during the antebellum period, America was expanding rapidly to the west. Okay, what do we have to remember? However, that expansion was profoundly affected by the issue of the expansion of slavery. Okay, and then we say the way that this was dealt with in Congress impacted the way that expansion took place. Okay, so a little more detail. Okay, so thesis, time frame, big picture, detail we have to remember, maybe a couple of them. Okay, and then how it affected things. Okay, and not to be formulaic, but that's probably going to get you your thesis going. And if you do that in that first paragraph, you've really set up what you're going to write after that. You've set up your reader to know what you're going to be writing about. Okay, so there's one point there for your thesis claim. Now, you've done a sneaky thing in there too. You've also managed to slip in B, contextualization. Okay, that's the big picture. What's the background story for what's going on? And if you just pop in a couple of things through your body, but you know, sort of these big picture things, this is contextualization. So there you are. You've written your first paragraph. Bang! You've got 2 points going for you right now if you've been doing it as I've asked you to do it. Okay. Rubric group C, evidence. Okay. Now, this is going to be 5 points if you hit every one of these right. Okay. And so, talking a little bit about this. Okay, you've got your hand out in front of you too. I gave you the little clip there. Uses the content of at least 2 documents to address the topic of the prompt. Okay. Now, in the past, there have been a total of 7 documents that they would give you. Now, for this abbreviated DBQ, there are only 5 documents. Okay, and they're rolling back how much you need to do. So, for 1 point, all you need to do is address the content of 2 of those documents. Now, I want to remind you, okay, that simply quoting a document does not give you that point. Okay, I know in 9th and 10th grade, I think they call it unpacking the documents, and it seems to me if you just quote, you know, you get points. That does not work here. Okay, that's why I tell you my own preference is that you not quote the document. Okay, so you're not relying on that quote to get you through it. What you want to do is you want to talk about what's in the document. Okay, describe the document. Okay. Senator Beveridge was opposed to the anti-imperialists, and he said something in a speech on such and such a day or something like that. Okay, don't just say document C. Describe the document. You know, in a political cartoon from 1868, you know, Thomas Nast showed his view of Reconstruction. Okay, so you're referring to the document. Okay, you're not simply quoting it. Okay, and how does this fit in with your argument? Why are you using this in your essay? Okay, supports an argument in response to the prompt using 2 documents. Now, you want to get ahead of the curve, use 4 documents. Okay, you get 1 point for using 2 documents. You get 2 points if you use a total of 4 documents. That's pretty good. So you're going to have 5 documents to look at. If there is 1 document that you're clueless about, don't worry. Okay, you're not going to have to use it anyway. Now, better to use all 5 documents in the end than to just kind of play your chances that way. Okay, the gnome is going to look at that and say, oh, this kid was really right on top of things, and your final score is going to reflect that. Okay, but don't freak if there's a document that you don't get in there. Okay, as long as there's 4 of your documents being addressed. Okay, so we've got ourselves up to 1, 2, 3, 4 points now. Okay. Okay. evidence beyond the documents. Okay. In the past, I would encourage students in the preparation time, the reading time with the documents, to brainstorm a list of facty facts, things that you want to make sure that you get into the essay. I'm going to give you a cheater's hint right now. Okay? You've got from me, if not printouts, at this point, you've got the access to the files for those key points. Remember those key points? Okay. Now, the right-hand column on those key points, full of all of that supporting outside evidence. My advice to you, okay, have those key points printed out in order, okay, and in your notebook binder, right up front, so you can get to them really easy. When you read your DBQ prompt, you're getting yourself into the time ballpark for the essay, okay? Go to the key point period, okay, that your DBQ is going to be addressing. Now, if you don't have a lot of time to be reading, and that's where a lot of students fall short on DBQs or writing an essay, open notebook, if it's open notebook. Okay, but find that time period in the key points that your document is going to address, excuse me, that your essay is going to address, okay, and read through those facty facts in that right-hand column. Okay, if you have a highlighter, you can bring a highlighter to the thing. If you have a pen or pencil, okay, put a star next to, check off, highlight those facts that you want to make sure you're including in your essay. Okay, you might think of these ahead of time. You may not need that, but this is kind of your safety net. If you're like, oh my gosh, I know nothing about the period from 1880 to 1900. Okay, just go to that. So make that work. Okay, evidence beyond the documents. Okay, 1 point uses at least one additional piece of evidence. Okay, beyond the documents, and a second point describes a second piece of specific historical evidence beyond that found in the documents. Okay, so if you've been doing this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points we could have at this point now. Okay, you're in good shape if you've been doing that. Okay. Ba 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 ba. Analysis and reasoning. All right, you guys. This is the stuff that makes the AP US History student. Analysis and reasoning. I'm sorry, analysis and reasoning. Okay. Now, this is your final 3 points to get to that 10. Pick up those points. Okay, analysis and reasoning. Pulling on my glasses again here. For one document, explains how or why the document's point of view, purpose, historical situation, and or audience is relevant to an argument. These are those crazy soapstones. You remember those? Okay. This is where I talk about adding value to the document. Stuff that's not immediately right there. Okay. What can you tell me about that document you've chosen to use that's not bang, right in the words or right in the picture? Maybe it's a quote from a senator, but you know the region of the United States, okay, for that senator. They'll say senator from South Carolina. Okay. Maybe you know the political party of the senator. or the politician. That's less likely to be included right there in the DBQ. But if you know that the region of the United States had a particular view on an issue, if you know the political party had a particular view on an issue, okay, that's where you're going to get this point. Slip that in there, okay? Or who would be paying attention to this particular source? Who was the audience? These are all your soapstone things, okay? The New York Tribune was read by Republicans, okay, or something like that, who favored this point of view. Okay, so this is the tough stuff. This is the stuff that makes an AP US History student. So, for one document, explains how or why the document's point of view works its way into your argument. Okay, during this point of view, the response will explain how or why rather than simply identifying. You've already done that, hopefully. Okay, expand that document. Soapstones. Okay, and you get another point for doing that one more time, okay, for a second document. So you really only got to do this for 2 of the documents. I mean, if you do it for more, that's fine. That's great. Okay, but you're picking up the points here. Okay, so as you're reading those documents, okay, is there something, aha, I know a little bit more about this document. I know why this person said it. I know what was the event this person said it on the eve of. I know who really was affected by this document. Thomas Paine's Common Sense. Those soldiers at Valley Forge reading it and being inspired. Okay? So, last point. Okay? Demonstrates a complex understanding of the historical development that is the focus of the prompt, using evidence to corroborate, qualify, or modify an argument that addresses the question. Okay, complex. And this is where we really make the AP US History student. This is where the gnomes can get pretty twitchy. Okay, a response may demonstrate a complex understanding in a variety of ways, such as explaining nuance of an issue by analyzing multiple variables. Okay, what are the different things that fed into this? Those details, those facty facts, what impact did they have? Explaining both similarity and differences, or explaining both continuity or change. Oh, yeah, the gnomes love this. Compare, contrast. You had this group with this response because they were living under these circumstances, but this other group, okay? Continuity and change, they love this, okay? How much has this phenomenon been just a continuation of things that were going on, okay? Is the progressive era of the late 19th, early 20th century simply a continuation of the reform movements of the antebellum era? Or is it something absolutely new? Okay, feeding into that, periodization, you may be asked to do that. Okay, when does the American Revolutionary period begin? When does it end? The Great Migration, important. Okay, African Americans leaving the rural South after the Civil War. Okay, but just when does that happen? And what is the end of the Great Migration? Is it the 1920s? Is it World War II? Why do you say that? Okay, explaining relevant, insightful connections within and across periods. Again, continuity and change. Confirming the validity of an argument. Okay, is it right to say this? You know, does trickle-down economics work? Did Roosevelt's plan to the end the Depression, the New Deal, did that work? Why or why not? Okay, qualifying and modifying an argument by considering diverse or alternative views and evidence. This is how a liberal historian would spin this. This is how a conservative historian would spin this. Okay, this argument must be part of the argument, not merely a phrase or a reference. Okay, so you're going through this and you're really applying it to what you're saying. All right, now on that morning or noon, I guess, is when the exam starts. I want you to be well prepared. I'll be sending out a couple more things to you. You're going to be getting an envelope in the mail from me, and there'll be instructions there. But I want you to remember these guys here, and I want to make sure that you make them go Schwing.